online shopping, e-commerce, and all that stuff is here to stay. So this is where we are.
All right, solid. All right, transition. AT&T's bold new CBRS proposal isn't making friends. All right, let me give you guys the quick rundown. AT&T created a proposal, and what they want to do in this proposal is change CBRS's location from we'll just call it the 3.55 gigahertz range. They want to move it down to the bottom, or like right around the 3.1 range, right? So they want to switch its position. And the reason they want to do that is they want CBRS to be moved so that the rest of the band can be high powered, can be contiguous. And then, of course, CBRS stays unlicensed, and it can also be powered up as well. Their proposal of how they want to do this, the technical aspect would be messy, but their intention makes a lot of sense. Currently, a lot of people view the CBRS program as being a failure. CBRS is low power. CBRS is limited its effectiveness as PALs, private access licenses. From an unlicensed standpoint, it's really messy. Like I said, the power rules, the guidelines, the way that those licenses work and deploy, it is really not ideal. I think for the carriers that invested in CBRS, they understood it, and it's why they got the prices on that spectrum they did. But to see the 3 gigahertz band be reconfigured and cleaned up would be a dream come true, in my opinion. Because what you would be doing is you would be fixing the messy nature of all those frequencies, all the power levels, everything becomes contiguous. AT&T is not like they're not wrong. This really should be better. 3 gigahertz should be the frequency range that is driving our country to nationwide fast, high-speed 5G, right? Now, obviously, don't get me wrong. I love millimeter wave. To me, it's the truth. There is no more effective way to create capacity than millimeter wave. The bandwidth is just so deep. But the only way to cover a country in less than $100 billion is with midband, right? So I'm with AT&T and their intention. The technicals can be argued. It's easier said than done, but it really should be fixed. There's a couple things to consider. Regional providers, fixed wireless access providers, this is going to be disruptive to them. Folks running fixed wireless access, it's going to be disruptive to them. For what it's worth, AT&T doesn't even use CBRS. I've never heard of them deploying a CBRS radio. I've heard of T-Mobile doing it on a few sites, and Verizon definitely does it to good depth within about 100 or so markets across the country. They've made it meaningful, right? Comcast has some licenses, so does Spectrum. And then you got your fixed wireless access providers. Anyways, there are folks that are saying AT&T should focus on building out the spectrum they have. Well, this is something that AT&T has always been. When things are good, they'll build it. When things are questionable as to how good it could be, they're more conservative. AT&T has never been able to do two things at once unless the government was paying for it, right? So this is not off-brand for AT&T. This is very much an AT&T political ploy. This is the same AT&T that convinced the FCC to put pressure on T-Mobile to give up spectrum in Hawaii. This is the same AT&T that got the government to build its Band 14 FirstNet network. This is that same company. This is not a surprise. And I'll be honest with you guys, for the commercial mobile network operators, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, Dish, AT&T's proposal helps all of them in some way, shape, or form from the long term. From the short term, we could argue about the messy nature of this solution, but in the long term, it would absolutely fix the entire 3 gigahertz conundrum, which has been less than ideal from the beginning, from the FAA and C-band to the DoD with 3.45 and the powering down near all these locations and the whole CBRS experiment. It would fix everything, but it would have to be calculated, it would have to be well designed, and it would have to be executed to a T. No guarantee that this happens. Absolutely not. at the very least, we'd like to see the CBRS power go up, but this would all but, assure that that would happen. Anyways, B, I spoke a lot. I probably said too much, but I had to get all those details out. What's your take on all this?
I'm still not 100% sold on this. This benefits AT&T, I believe, a little bit more than it does anybody else. Surprise, imagine that. Um, I don't think this is going to happen. Just because nobody's complaining about CBRS for really any reason other than power reasons. They're the only reasons. They're the only ones who are upset, and it's because of this frequent the spectrum portfolio that they have, that they own, that they purchased. It has holes in it, and that's their fault. Because again, you know, previous leadership made a decision to invest in something. It didn't work out, and from a financial standpoint, it did hurt AT&T. So they didn't have the ability, to outbid Verizon, for example, for C-band. And because of that, now they're having issues with DoD, and they know they're you know kind of behind the eight ball when it comes to performance from a spectrum standpoint. So this benefits them, a lot. Everyone else, not so much. I don't to hear Verizon really complaining about their CBRS performance. In fact, it's really performing very well. It's helping LTE tremendously, and that's without it being full power. If the FCC ever wakes up and kind of does its job and allows, for CBRS to be full power, So I mean, I don't really hear Verizon complaining. This is an AT&T thing trying to. I've said it before, and I'm about to say it again. They're back in Washington D.C. begging for handouts, begging for somebody to help them out, to help them compete, to help them stay relevant. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, you guys kind of made that bed yourselves. So AT&T's gonna have to figure out a way to kind of climb out of it. I don't think this is gonna happen, Sneed. I do, you know, acknowledge the point that you're making from a cleanliness standpoint and a sign-out standpoint and a contiguous standpoint. I get it, but I don't really hear a whole lot of complaints from Verizon that I know of, at least. They're the ones that are really invested in mid-band spectrum before anybody else did. Before it was a thing, Verizon was doing the CBRS thing. Before 5G became a mid-band race, Verizon was already doing CBRS. So there was already industry, you know, experts who were impressed with the propagation of mid-band and what it could do to increase and enhance network performance from a capacity and a coverage standpoint. So, I mean, it's not new. And really, it seems like the only thing that Verizon wants is just the ability to be able to use it at full power. So, this benefits AT&T more than anyone else, and nobody should be surprised about that.